Hello, I'm Jeremy, and I wanted to talk more about the minimum wage because this stuff just drives me up the wall. And I found a video that just does a great job of stressing all this backwards clown nonsense. Before we get started, help me out by giving a thumbs up so I'll appear more on YouTube's algorithm, and hit that subscribe button so you can be aware of whenever I'm putting out more videos and see what's going on. And if you could, it would really be appreciated to subscribe on my Patreon or Subscribe Star. However, if I'm still at the beginning stages whenever you're watching this, hold off. Let me earn your patronage before that happens. So, I found a video. Thomas Sowell, he has a YouTube channel, and he put up a video about the minimum wage. I have a link in the description below so you can look at it too, and it has Thomas Sowell, Milton Friedman, and Walter Williams on it, and they just tear it apart. It starts off with Biden and Nancy Pelosi talking about minimum wage, and they have absolutely no proof of it whatsoever. They cite nothing. They just say, well, we all know, and it's obvious. And it's like, no, it's not. We all don't know that, and no, it's not obvious at all. And that's why you have people who are on the opposite side of this who can destroy it. I mean, the black and white there with Walter Williams, he was the professor for Thomas Sowell, and they worked really closely together. With Thomas Sowell, there's a section where he's talking about his first job, and he was making like 40 cents an hour. My dad would tell me that whenever he was a little kid, like elementary school, that for a nickel, that's what he had for lunch. And he could go get like a burger and a Coke and either fries or potato chips or a candy for a nickel. Why does it cost more now? It's because of crap like minimum wage. That is inflation. It makes everything more expensive. Every single thing. Everything. Because that's what money is. That's what the economy is. It's what can you buy? What can you sell? What affects those prices? The wages. Milton Friedman liked to come at it, if you've watched him. He has a lot of moral objectives to it as well, and also really technical objections to it. So he's talking about what he saw during the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Same thing with Thomas Sowell. With back in the 40s and maybe the 30s. I don't know if he's that old. Excuse me if he is. But why have prices gone up? So, for example, the trucks that we have, the semi-trucks that deliver all of these products, they can do more. And so that's bulk. They're able to transport more things in larger bulk. And the bigger the bulk, then the more the expenses are shared. And so it should go down. So why have they gone up? It's the same thing with the machines that we have, that they last longer. They move faster with less flaws. All of these things have happened. It's called innovation. It's called progress. And now, especially with computers and electronics, they do an even better job. So why do prices keep going up? I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to say this, is that there is no limit as to how you can go. Milton Friedman does a great job with this. Or no, it's Mr. Walter, who talks about, oh, you know it smells horrible. It doesn't pass the smell test. Why? Because why don't you take it to some poor, impoverished country and say, just increase your minimum wage, and then you can be rich too, just like us. That's all it takes, because why not? It's like, obviously that would not work. You think that nobody's ever tried that before? You don't think that there wouldn't be mounds of research that shows that this is absolutely what you could do? So if it wouldn't work for them in making their lifestyles any better, why would it work anywhere else for anyone else? It does not. You don't want to push things down. You want to, or you don't want to push things up. You don't want more taxes. You don't want more government aid. You don't want to help other countries. You want to push it down. You want to make things cheap so then that way everybody, anybody, anywhere can afford whatever it is that you have to offer. You are not doing anyone favors with this. How would you like to be able to go to the grocery store and instead of having $1 million to buy 1,000,000 things, what if instead, if things were still cheap, like back in the day with all of these senior folks there, and you could go in with $1 and you could buy 1,000,000 things. What's easier to get, $1 or 1,000,000? It's obvious. It's like, it's clown world. Everything is backwards. And I don't know what it is. I honestly don't know what it is. Am I someone who's just incredibly smart? Or have I just kind of gotten out of kind of these web of lies? I don't know what it is. But I tell you what, it's so frustrating. It's like a veil has been lifted and I see things, I want to say correctly, or at least clear. How's that? Clearer than before. And it frustrates me to no end, because there are people out there that they see it just as well as I do, or better, such as these three gentlemen here. So why is that getting held down? Because politicians don't give a damn about the truth at all. They care about getting reelected. And so what gets them elected? What are the topics that you're pushing? I'm fed up with it. There's not a proper checks and balances. All these politicians get to run their mouth and say whatever comes out of their hole. It's like, screw that crap. I'm tired of getting screwed over. I'm tired of everybody else getting screwed over. This is the Gini coefficient, and that is where you have more inequality. So whenever you put poor people right next to rich people, violence breaks out. You know where violence doesn't break out is whenever you have rich people next to rich people, and when you have poor people next to poor people. Whenever everybody's on the same page, it's kind of ergonomics is what it is. If you want to go work at a nuclear power plant, you have to be a nuclear engineer. It takes a lot of education to do this. But even with all that education, you can still have an explosion. And so that happened in like Texas City, I think it was, where they had some kind of a meltdown. And one of the things that they found out that was wrong was that they had all these little gauges, and they had a little gauge that would go back and forth and point somewhere. And they had them all lined up, a whole board full of them. And they misread the gauges. And then they came on in and they said, you know what? Instead of knowing about each gauge and its tolerances, let's just turn it a little bit. So then that way, all the gauges point in the same way. And if you ever see where it's out of place, then you know instantly. Because before it was, well, here's a gauge, and it should point over here. And here's another gauge, and it should point over here. And another gauge here, and it should point here. Put them all the same. So instead of having one gauge, and it's pointing this way, and another gauge, and it's pointing over here, and another gauge, and it's pointing there, have them all point up, or to the left, or the right, or whatever. Then that way you can casually graze over everything. And it's the same thing whenever we go driving in these big, monstrous killing machines of glass and metal. The reason why we're able to do that and do it around complete strangers is because of ergonomics. We've made things as simple as possible. Same thing with the minimum wage. You know, you don't need that. You need to let people have as much power as they possibly can so it can be as easy as possible for them to be able to do things. Whenever you start introducing taxes and minimum wage and all these things, it makes things more complicated. And in order to handle that complexity, you have to hire more people. There's more red tape. Your taxes get more difficult to fill out. You have to hire professionals for all this stuff. You need more with the HR department or with accounting. It's just an endless cycle of nonsense. No, you want things to be as simple and as easy as possible, as effective and efficient as you can make them. The world is complicated enough without all of this necessary garbage that we have with it. And technology continues to make things more difficult because of Moore's law, which is roughly every 18 months technology doubles. Here's a real world example of how things are getting crazy, is that we have all these engineers in the US. If you took the total of how many that we have right now, China is just with their graduating students, they have more students that are graduating with engineer than what the US has combined total. And they're producing all of these things. They're doing all of these wonderful things. How are we ever going to stay on top of that? How are we going to be able to use all these things and sort through it? Well, part of it is through my website, because I tell you what, that is what the foundation is going to be. It's going to be based off of facts and truths. No, this is a waste of time. How far back? Look at Milton Friedman. That's in black and white back in the day, and here we are still arguing about it. And you see this with other things, with other arguments too, is that you have both sides of the argument. One side, their points never change, never get stronger, nothing happens. But the other side keeps getting bigger and stronger because they have facts and evidence with all of this stuff. Why are we still having these debates? It's a waste of time. It is no longer a debate. The facts are in. The tests are over. We know. So unless if you have something new to bring to the table, we're done here. I got better things to do than to hear the same worn out story again, from whether if it's Milton Friedman back in the 40s and 50s to Thomas Sowell to current day. Walter Williams has passed away, though he passed away a year or two ago. He's no longer with us. But it's like, why are we still doing this in present day? We know definitively, hands down, money isn't magic. It's like, whenever people start up a business, they are not thinking, well, I want to give people enough money so they can live wonderful lives. No, they're saying, I am struggling. I need help. I have a little bit of money, so I can hire somebody else to help me so I can grow. And if you want to be in their position, then guess what? You're going to have to put in the same amount of work. But you know what? If you don't want to, you don't have to. But don't expect to be the same. That's not the way that it works. You know, if everybody had $1 million, say the government gave everyone $1 million check, who's going to go work and be a cashier? Nobody. They're going to say, I'm a millionaire. But you know what really is going to happen is that everybody's going to be poor because everybody's a millionaire. What are you going to be able to buy? Nothing. Because everything's going to be at minimum $1 million. There's this old cartoon movie called The Incredibles, and that villain talks about it. He's like, well, whenever everybody's a super, then no one's a super. He's leveling the playing field. That is his line. I think I forget where he says it in the movie. It's not at the beginning. It's either kind of halfway or right there at the end, where he wants to make everyone super, and that's what he's doing. And it's like, yes, it's the exact same concept. Whenever everybody's rich, then no one is. You cannot make everyone rich. You can make everyone poor, but that will also drive down the prices for everything because no one will be able to afford those things, and it'll be much easier to have this huge, wide variety of things to choose from. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. It's freaking clown world, and I'm calling it out. So if you'd like to know more, because there is plenty more to go over, then keep watching. Subscribe, thumbs up, and we're going to get this done. And we'll see you next time.